out of this country, probably to another country. Now, if the country now, or if the Nigeria discover that that person is in that country, they have to do what we call write an application. But the fundamental issue that must be established is that the Nigeria must have a treaty agreement between them and that country.
Yes.
The essence of establishing that particular agreement is that because it's that agreement that will contain the process by which it must be in line with that of the United Nations, by which you people can commence the process. Now, if there is no agreement, you can also ignore it, but you must do what we call make a formal application. When the country receive it, they will now send it to their own Ministry of Justice. They will go through it then and look at it. If they see that your application is on merit, because the content of application must contain the details of the person, the offense he must have committed, the charge, the warrant of arrest, and all those ingredients. If they consider it, they will now send it to court. Court will now, it is just a trial. Court will now sit, probably invite the person. But before going to court, they will obtain what we call warrant of arrest to get the person arrested in their country. Then when they arrested the person in their country, they will now take the person to their court. If it's Nigeria, Federal High Court, then the court will now give the person fair hearing. Your country said, or this particular country said that you committed this particular offense in that country. Now, why did you run away from the country? You explain. Then you now show them the reason why they should not take you, extradite you back to the country. When you give your own explanation, court will now consider a lot of factors. One of the fundamental factors is whether the offense you allegedly committed, you committed it based on the charge and the proof of evidence attached to them. Two, whether you will have fair trial in that country. Three, whether that particular offense is something that can be tried in their own country. Then finally, which is the most fundamental one, whether that person is somebody that can be extradited. That is to say, I am a Ghanaian, I am a Nigerian, and it is presumed that I committed an offense in Benin Republic. And now Benin Republic now is asking Nigeria that they should extradite me because I am a Nigerian. I'm in Nigeria as a Ghanaian with Ghanaian passport. So that particular issue must be resolved. The consent of Ghana must also be sought because this is their citizen,
yeah.
And this is in your own country. So the question there is that are there alternatives? The law provides alternatives. One of the alternatives is one, waiver. The person you want to extradite will waive his right. Said, don't worry, I'm ready to go to the country to face my trial. Two, the person will now, the country will now deport. Deportation is one of the alternatives to deport the person back to his own country, just like that of Nnamdi Kanu. He was in Ghana as a Briton. I hear them saying. So yes, as a British citizen.
Yes.
So either you deport him back to his country, or you can also try him in that your own country. These are the alternatives. So as we progress, I will explain.
Great. Now let's talk about what offenses. I know you mentioned it while you were talking, but let's be more specific about it, because there's been argument that you can only extradite somebody based on offenses that are considered as international crimes.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. It's not every offense that you extradite. Something like...
So what offenses fall into the category of offenses that could merit an extradition process being initiated and applied?
Terrorism is one of them. Treasonable felony is one of them. Murder is one of them. I think rape is one of them. These are the major offenses that can warrant extradition. Not theft, all those minor offenses, issuance of a door check, all those ones cannot warrant extradition. But the major this is treasonable felony, terrorism offenses, murder, rape, These are the few.
Is it also possible that a third party may come into play, which might stall the process of extradition? I ask this question because we had an international extradition case that made the headlines for almost a decade, talking about Julian Assange, the whistleblower, there was an extradition request made by the US while he was in the UK. And the UK authorities wanted to move in, the British authorities wanted to move in to arrest him, but the Ecuadorian embassy offered him an asylum. Ecuadorian embassy on British soil offered him asylum. And between 2012 and 2019, he was in the Ecuadorian embassy and was not given up to the UK authorities so that he can be extradited to the US.
Yes.
So that's a third party coming into play in a process of extradition that exists between Britain and the United States, because, like you said, it's a bilateral process.
Yes.
So if a third party comes in and stalls the process, is that something that is also legally permissible in the international law?
Diplomatically, any embassy in any country is presumed to be a country in that place, just like in America, American embassy here in Abuja. So anything that is happening there is happening in America. Nigeria cannot easily enter into that place because it is presumed that that is America, United States of America in Abuja. So whatever thing that you are doing in that embassy, it is presumed that you are doing it in America. So now they have that sovereignty. So the issue of until and unless the Ecuadorian embassy now released the young man to Britain cannot enter into that embassy to get him arrested. That one is one. Then they can also conduct the extradition process there, checking relevant laws, whether Equatorial Guinea, so to say, has a bilateral treaty with Britain or America. What was the agreement? If there is none, now the issue there is that can they conduct extradition trial there in Guinea, Equatorial Guinea? So if they cannot, then there's nothing about it. So they can only say, young man, there's nothing we can do keeping you here. We don't know what you are doing here. So they can either deport him back to his own country or send him to, release him to Britain. Let Britain, on the ground that Britain should observe the law of extradition in their own country. Because this is very, very fundamental. Because these are the procedures. You cannot, no matter how beautiful, if you have a good case and you challenge it from a very wrong angle, you may lose it. So no matter how beautiful your case is, not sentiment. You must follow the due process. The due process there is that what was the law of extradition said? Are you a signatory to it? Do you have a bilateral relationship with that country that you want to extradite?
In the event a country, say Nigeria for instance, doesn't have a bilateral agreement on extradition and mutual legal assistance with a country such as Kenya for instance, how can they go about the process of extradition?
Alternatives. The alternatives is one, I've mentioned it here. One, waiver. Two, deportation. So these are the I think I listed them there. So the waiver and the foreign prosecution. So now if you don't have a bilateral relationship, you now ask, what's the name, Kenya, please, this young man, we want to extradite him from Britain. You cannot do it because he was in Kenya with a British passport, saying that I'm not a Nigerian, I'm a Briton as at that particular time. So you should ask them. Then they will not give him fair hearing. They say, young man, look at what these people are saying. You cannot even deport. You can't even deport him as at that particular time. Going by what the law provides, you're supposed to deport him back to his country. Or ask him, whether are you ready to? You said, oh, anyway, well, take me there, I'm ready. So you will now put it, or you can try him there in your country. If you feel that the offense he was even alleged is also a crime in your own country, and you can try it based on the legal system.
But in this particular case, which we're talking about, Nnamdi Kanu, there's no indication that there was an extradition hearing.
Because remember that
there was also a report that he was brought to Nigeria, and Kenya came out to deny that he was actually picked up, and that the Kenyan authorities were involved in the whole thing.
You know, the Kenya.
So what scenario does that create, legally speaking?
That's where we are, because one, the Kenya High Commission said, we don't know how this man managed to leave our country. I don't think. Now, Britain now, hey, what happened to a citizen? Are you saying that he's not a citizen? What happened to a citizen? So they are asking question. I learned that they have written, asking Nigerian government to explain the circumstances under which this young man left Kenya. So it is now between them, between Nigeria, Kenya, and Britain, to sort it out, because the worst are the international community. Everybody is watching, because how the scenario will play out. Because one, it's not, we are not talking about Nnamdi Kanu. It can happen to anybody. So no matter how, whatever, yes, anybody who accused of a crime should come and face trial. And I learned that the lawyers filed action saying that this woman is ready to come and face his trial, but look at the circumstances that made him to leave the country, so all those things. But we are not going into that. The question there is that you say that you don't know how this young man left your country. But good, you have also established before the world that this young man was in your country, and you are also established, Britain has also established that this man entered into this country with British passport. So these particular issues must be
does the fact that he got into Kenya with a British passport automatically mean that his identity and status as a Nigerian citizen is vitiated?
That one is a different ballgame altogether, because one,
because I'm assuming the Nigerian government could argue that this person is a Nigerian citizen. His Nigerian passport was held back by the court after he was granted bail, but somehow he managed to leave the country. So on that legal score, he is still a Nigerian citizen and we can go after him. Is that a valid argument? No. Legally speaking. In
the first instance, how does Nnamdi Kanu manage to leave this country? Are you telling us that our borders are porous? Are you telling us that our immigration are not working? So we are even pushing it back to them. If you are even coming into that, remember that he has a dual citizen. And the Nigerian constitution also allowed that. Having a dual citizen is that probably if I can't get justice here, I can go to where I can obtain justice. And he has run to that place. And those people said, going by what you have explained to us, we can allow you to be. Now, what stops you from applying for his extradition? Since you know that he is there. Now, if you have applied, have you followed the process? Why do you want to truncate the process? Then why should you use Kenya? These are the issues, because this is our legal jurisprudence, which our people are expected to follow. Is a precedent. So not because of Nnamdi Kanu today. We must get it right.
So when the process is wrong, for instance, the process of bringing somebody back from a foreign country into your country for trial is wrong. Could you create a scenario, for instance, that means that whatever you're going to do afterwards is a nullity? Does that create that scenario?
No. Because one, the most fundamental, I expected the federal government by now to say, we have a bilateral agreement with Kenya. Look at it.
But it's not going to create a problem, because the federal government comes out to say that by now. After the Kenyan authorities had denied that they were involved in the whole problem. That puts them into international embarrassment.
It is a problem, not our problem, because one, the due process must be followed. The due process, what we are talking about is that you should be able to tell us, most of us has tried to research to get that. We couldn't see it. Now, this is our bilateral agreement we have with Kenya. Look at what the contents are. Remember that why they are talking about this UN international model extradition treaty is for, so that nobody will deviate. It's just like as we have a declaration of enforcement of fundamental rights, we are, and that ask every United Nations declaration of fundamental human rights, that ask every country to go and who are signatories to go and domesticate it in your own local legislation, so that it will be uniform. So that when we are talking about enforcement of fundamental rights in Kenya, we are talking about in America, it will be the same here in Nigeria. Likewise, this particular extradition laws. So what are the procedure? Do you people have a bilateral agreement with Kenya? Just like what is happening in Benin Republic now. I heard them say, now, Sunday Igboho is there. You make an application. When you make an application, the due process will be followed. If they consider the fundamental things that needed to put in place before coming, if they discover that yes, the young man, there is nothing we see about going there, you have a good, you have a fair, you have a here and there, you have a this and that, go and they will do it. But when they discover, they will protect that person's fundamental right, because it is only a living that will face trial. It's only a living that will face trial. So that's why everybody is interested in this matter. Everybody is interested.
Now, there's a mutual legal assistance that a country, for instance, where a country doesn't have an extradition treaty with another country.
Yes.
But there is a mutual legal assistance treaty signed between the two countries.
Yes.
Can it suffice?
Yes. But the
for extradition treaty?
Yes. But following the rules, the well-established rules. Yes, we don't have a bilateral decision, but going by the offense this young man has committed, there is every need for him to go and do this. If you explain it, take it to your court, give a fair hearing. Then he will come and explain to you why he should not go back to. Do you know that when you may even get him arrested with a warrant and they take him to court, you may say, okay, I'm waiving it. When are we going? Don't worry, I will go and let me go and face my trial there. That's settles it. But if he said that, please, protect me, if I go there with you, look at the instances. You have to protect him. You are there to protect him and reply to the application that we cannot. So the only option for you is that let us try him here. See, because he said that I will die before that time. If he can be able to explain all these things, so be it. But now using redemption is a process of taking somebody out of their country through illegal means, and the international human rights condemns that. You don't do it. You don't, just like when you are going to, you say that you want to get somebody arrested, you go and kill other people because of one person. You don't do that kind of thing. So that particular process is what we want Nigeria to explain. Remember that up to now we're explaining the federal government to issue a statement, explain to Nigerians, so that when we're arguing, we know what we are arguing. Kenya said that we don't know how this man left our country.
Nigeria has been silent.
Yes, they have shifted the body now to Nigeria.
And Nigeria has been silent.
Yes, and I remember that the lawyer, Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, visited him, and the young man explained what Nnamdi Kanu told him, that I was there, they came and started beating me, saying that I'm a terrorist. I told them that I'm not a terrorist. They blindfolded me and took me to an unknown place and all those things. So these are the processes which everybody is interested to know. Now all these particular processes, said that I was taken to a particular handcuff for 8 days before I was blindfolded, straight to the airport, to the tarmac. I was the only person in the aircraft. What I saw myself in Nigeria. Why all those processes? These are the issues.
So you're finding that those processes are not legal processes.
They are faulty to based on what we have, because Nigerian government has not come to state their own side of the story. What we have from our Attorney General said that he was intercepted. He was intercepted. Yeah. Now I don't know what you mean by intercepted. Intercepted on which country?
Is this issue like going to come up in the event that the trial commences? Is this issue going to be an issue in the trial?
Well, the head,
or is it something that should be a separate matter that is filed separately?
The head of the legal team are still yet to meet to.
I mean, ordinarily speaking, is this something that could be raised as an objection that the process of his being brought to Nigeria was fraught with illegalities, and so it vitiates the process of the trial as well?
Of course, that particular issue must be addressed. It must be addressed because a lot of things need to consider before trial. One, his health. An application has been made that he should be transferred to Kuje prison. His health, whether he is physically and mentally stable to face trial. Then what happened? So all these particular issues, because most of the times when you subjected somebody to such a rigorous process, he may be thinking about, had it been that these people killed me, what would have happened? So he may not concentrate. The issue of trial is secondary.
Are there case laws on extradition applications in Nigeria from other countries, and how can it help to understand the process and implement the process better in the country?
Yes, the
because the one I could easily remember is the one involving late Senator Buruji Kashamu.
Yes.
When in fact, it was Nigerian government that initiated the process to send him back for alleged, drug offenses in the U.S. It wasn't even the fact that the U.S. was particularly interested, although there was a report that he had been declared wanted by U.S. authorities. So the Nigerian government felt, let's make it easy for the U.S. authorities. whatever reason at the time, whether political or otherwise, to send him back to the US. But besides, there are other case laws on extradition.
Yes, somebody was talking about the case of Mayana and some other this I said, well, and
that's the most recent one from Sudan.
Yes, so now that of Mayana, was there a trial? There was a trial, because all these are public documents. You should be able to show us the trial, because a trial is out.
There's no indication that there was a trial in that case.
Then the process is faulty. It's very, very faulty, because one, we need to challenge all these things. Because
is it that countries may just decide that, look, we have a relationship with a good relationship with this country, and for instance, there's evidence provided by the Attorney General of Nigeria to the Attorney General of this other country that, look, this man is facing so and so trial, he was remanded in prison, he was granted bail, and he disappeared. And on an informal basis, they just decide, okay, you didn't come into this country properly, go back to your own country. Is that something that, because I'm seeing that apply mostly among African countries within sub-Saharan Africa.
Do you know what he just said? That Utibe is coming from to work, he met one man trying to snatch a bag from...
I'm saying that because that is exactly what is playing out in most of the return of Nigerians who have been accused.
So that viewers will understand what I said.
And charged for crimes in Nigeria.
Now,
I'm asking you, is that formal process?
No.
Informal process?
No. Is it
something that somehow has any legal backing?
Very informal. Now, the scenario I want to just give you so that they will understand is that when you are just coming as a judge, you saw somebody committing a crime, and now as a judge, they brought the person before you. Immediately you open your mouth and say that I saw you when I was coming to work. I saw you when you are committing the crime. You are a judge. You have lacked the capacity to try that particular case because of your interest. You have interest already. So when you say that based on what they said, Attorney General said, and this thing, yes, I know.
Documents provided, where documents are submitted.
Has he defended? Has he provided his own? This is a document given to you. Is it not the charge prepared and evidence served on him for him to put up his defense? Have you seen his own defense? You must hear him. That is the other pattern. Hear from both sides. Because one, you cannot just come. You said that based on what Attorney General of Nigeria said.
So in my last case, you're also saying that was false or false?
Very, very faulty. Because that process, you have. I saw you when you have been, since you have been reading all these laws. You see the process. The process is a court. Immediately you write that application. Not only writing that application, they will receive it. The law said you send it to the own Minister of Justice. If it's something like that, send it to their own secretary. He will go through it, look at it. If it's something that they will now send it to court. They will first of all obtain a warrant of arrest to get the person arrested. When they arrested the person, they will take the person to court, look at application before you. Are you know what I'm saying? Why did you run away from this country to our own country and fail to stand for a trial there? He will explain. Now tell us the reason why. That is the hearing. Why we should not.
Situation, it is because we are out of time. Let's quickly talk about this, because in Mayana's case, the Interpol was directly involved, international police. In the situation where, you know, the Interpol is another arrangement where criminals are picked up in different countries without necessarily going through a extradition process. It doesn't happen in that case. Where the international police, for instance, is, you know, notified and signals are sent across the country, and they pick up these persons, for instance, and bring them back to your country of origin. Is that also
through what process? Through what process? That process is very, very fundamental to everybody. Through what process? Okay, had it been that those people, according to what the lawyer said, those people, had it been that they killed this young man, what would you say? That was the reason why the treaty said, let there be a trial, let there be a process, let the process be formal, so that everybody will know, so that when you are extraditing the person, in fact, the Nigerians will know that this person, they are going to extradite him. Wow. So applying a redemption process, taking him out of the country through no, it doesn't work. It's very, very faulty. All right. Yes.
Maxwell, Okpara, I want to say thank you so much for being here. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on the situation in Benin Republic, where Sunday Igboho, aka Sunday Igboho, is being held there, and we're hearing that extradition processes are already kicking in. That's Project Justice for this week. Once again, thank you, Maxwell Okpara, for being here. Until next week, I am Umoren. Have a wonderful holiday.